Hi, and welcome to Ottawa English. I'm Angela. In this video, we're going to take a look at the opinion essay for IELTS Writing Task 2. We'll work through this opinion essay question together, step by step, looking at recognizing what an opinion question looks like, understanding and analyzing that question, identifying examples, planning, structuring and writing the essay, avoiding common mistakes, and then I'll give you some tips. So let's start with recognizing the opinion essay question. The writing prompt for an IELTS opinion essay starts with a statement and then asks you for your opinion about that statement. And that's often phrased as, what is your opinion? Do you agree or disagree? To what extent do you agree or disagree? What do you think? Do you agree? Or to what extent do you agree? All those variations follow the statement, basically asking you for your opinion. So this is a fairly typical opinion essay question. It's important for tourists to preserve both the culture and environment of the places they visit. But some people think it's impossible to be a responsible tourist. To what extent do you agree or disagree? And then it tells you to give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your knowledge or experience. And then it tells you that you need to write more than 250 words. So 250 words is your absolute minimum. Now, the most common mistake at this point is a failure to recognize the type of question. And so if you don't recognize the type of essay that you're writing, if you don't recognize that this is an opinion essay, then you may not state your opinion. Or in some cases, people will provide arguments for both views. Or you might not support your opinion with clear reasons. Or worst of all, you might change your opinion as you're writing your essay. And all of these knock-on effects of not recognizing the question can result in a lower score. So you should decide to disagree or agree, depending on which opinion you have the best ideas and vocabulary for. What you absolutely mustn't do is both agree and disagree. And so now the next thing we need to do is understand the question. And my students often tell me that they just don't have enough time to spend analysing the question. But the problem is that if you don't spend that time analysing and understanding the question, you can very easily end up writing an irrelevant essay. And if you write an irrelevant essay, you will not get your score. So for example, I recently had a student write a beautiful essay about tourism, but the question was about international travel. And you know as well as I do that there are lots of international travelers who aren't tourists. Some people travel internationally for business meetings, some visit family, some travel for medical procedures, and so on and so on. So by writing about tourism, she actually wrote an absolutely beautiful but totally irrelevant essay. And so my point here is you need to be very careful about analysing and understanding the question before you start writing. Otherwise, just like my student, you may end up writing about the topic rather than about the specific aspect of that topic that the question wants you to write about. And if you do that, it's highly unlikely that you're going to get a good score. Okay, so what do I mean when I tell you to analyze the question? Well, what I mean is that you need to look at 3 types of words in the question. You can see that in this question, we have topic words. We're writing about tourists. Those are the people who do the tourism, okay? Now then we also have subtopic words, and these are the words that tell you what aspect of tourism we're writing about. So we know that we're writing about culturally and environmentally responsible tourism. So we can say that that question basically asks us whether we can expect tourists to be environmentally and culturally responsible. We also have instruction words. Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Write at least 250 words. So if I look at those instruction words, I know that I need to explain my position. I need to give examples that support my explanation, and I need to write more than 250 words. So the most common mistakes that students make is not spending enough time analysing and understanding the question. And as a result of that, writing about the general topic rather than about the specific aspect that they're being asked to write about. And so the result of that is your score is automatically reduced because that is your task achievement. And if you don't do it, you don't get that 25% of your score. So now that we know what we need to write about, we can start populating this basic structure. And using this clear type of structure helps you keep your ideas together in one place. And that helps with that cohesion and coherence, which is worth 25% of your score. So in some ways, your structure is like a roadmap that leaves you time to focus on your grammar, your sentence structure, and any systemic errors. Those are those little mistakes that you yourself have a habit of making, even though you know they're wrong. So we can put our understanding of the question up here. Next, I need to decide whether I disagree or I agree. Now, I agree with the statement. And now I need to decide what the 2 main ideas are that I'm going to use to support my opinion. So a few weeks ago, my friend told me all about her trip to Seoul, where they'd managed to stop visitors from trampling all over their historical sites by building walkways and posting signs reminding tourists of the fines that accompanied straying from the path. Hearing her talk made me much more aware of how easily large groups of people can destroy a site if they don't behave properly. Mentally transporting myself out of the high-stress exam space to a low-stress environment where I'm chatting to friends often makes it a lot easier to generate ideas. And while my head is in that relaxed setting, I write down any words that come to mind so that I don't waste precious time trying to remember them later on when I need them. Essentially, I'm doing everything I can to avoid wasting time on repeated actions. So I'm going to use these as my main ideas. I'll pop the first one down here as part of my first main idea. And then my second one can go down here as part of my second main idea. At a higher level, the topic of this first example is regulation, while the topic of this second example, at a higher level, is education. Now I can go back to my introduction and populate my reasons. Achieving it requires regulation and education. So a good introduction has three parts. It has a paraphrase of the statement. So let's paraphrase the statement. Whether or not tourists can be expected to be environmentally and culturally responsible is an interesting question. I'm inclined to agree. So that's the second part, our opinion, that responsible tourism is a reasonable expectation. And then my main ideas, but achieving it requires regulation and education. So your introduction should tell your examiner that you've understood the question, and it should forecast what your essay is about. Essentially, you should be able to give the introduction to a friend and expect them to tell you what your essay is about or even write it for you. And some of the most common mistakes that test takers make here with their introductions include not stating an opinion, not providing those main ideas, and providing ideas for both sides. And it's really important that you decide whether you agree or disagree, and then choose two main ideas that support either your agreement or your disagreement, but not both. So now that we've got our introduction and our main ideas, all we need to do is follow the roadmap and write our two main body paragraphs. In the first of those paragraphs, we'll write about the first idea, regulation, and in the second paragraph, we'll write about the second idea, and for this essay, that's education. The structure for each of those body paragraphs is a topic sentence, an explanation of that, and an example or supporting details. So here's my topic sentence. It identifies the main idea of my paragraph. Then I have my explanation, where I elaborate on my topic sentence and explain what I mean to the examiner. And often a good way to think about your explanation is to imagine explaining your idea to a 10-year-old child. So you use that same easy, simple language that says exactly what you want to say. And then I have my example, which is very relevant to what I'm trying to say. So it supports my topic sentence and my explanation. Some of the common mistakes that test takers make include not explaining and supporting that main idea, and changing their opinion during the essay. You don't want to do that, right? You pick your main idea and you elaborate on it. You add lots of supporting detail. That's what's going to get you that score. Now we follow exactly the same pattern for the second paragraph. We have our topic sentence that identifies what the paragraph is about. Then we have our explanation, explaining what we mean to our 10-year-old examiner. And then you finish off that paragraph with an example that's relevant to the point you're making. Some of the common mistakes that test takers make include using ideas that aren't relevant. It's really important to keep the question you're answering in mind as you write, and your ideas need to be in line with what you're trying to say. The other thing is trying to impress the examiner, there's no point. When the examiner reads your essay, she's checking to see that you've answered the question, you've used solid ideas, you've developed a well-balanced and well-structured essay, and that you've navigated your way through any of the vocabulary and grammar requirements that you need in order to make your opinion clear. If you've done that, she will be impressed, regardless of whether or not she agrees with you. So please try worrying about the things that matter and let those things that don't matter go. Okay, so now to finish our essay, we need a conclusion. And a lot of my students worry about this last bit because by now they've done so much thinking and the time pressure is mounting as the clock ticks away. Often the easiest way to write the conclusion is to paraphrase the introduction. And so it needs to do three things. It needs to answer the question, it needs to reiterate your opinion, and then it needs to link your ideas together. So you want to tell your examiner that this is your conclusion. So you start by saying, this is my conclusion, or in conclusion, or to conclude. And then you summarize your main points and restate your opinion. And some of the common mistakes that test takers make include not using a structure that keeps your response on track. Remember that using the right structure forces you to do exactly what the examiner wants to see. So when the examiner gets to the end of your essay and asks herself whether you've clearly expressed what you think about that question, you really do want the answer to be yes. The other one is writing surprise conclusions. And by a surprise conclusion, I mean one that introduces new information or explains things. There should never be anything new in your conclusion. You want your examiner to know everything right at the start when you introduce your essay. So this is the final essay without those little interfering blue workmen. Stop the video for a moment if you want to read it through from start to finish. And as promised, here are my top tips. First of all, learn to recognize an opinion essay question. Never forget the question. From this time you start writing, right to the last word of your conclusion, never let yourself forget what you're writing about. Every single sentence is important, it matters, it needs to be relevant. Make sure you understand the question, both the topic and the subtopic that you're writing about. Every sentence is important. Support your reasons with relevant examples and follow a structure. Give yourself that little roadmap so that you don't get lost and everything stays neatly packaged into bundles. And don't try to impress the examiner. Keep it simple. What is going to impress the examiner is that she can see you've answered the question, you've used solid ideas, you've developed a well-balanced and well-structured essay, and you've navigated your way through vocabulary and grammar that enables you to express your opinion clearly. That's it for today, and our essay is done. Revisit it again and again until it's really clear to you. And then once you've understood it, practice writing your opinion essays. You can paste them into the comment section below if you'd like me to check them for you. Use reputable sites for your topics though, because if they're not from past exam questions, they may result in a lot of confusion and test taker anxiety. Don't worry too much about timing your essay at the beginning. Once you've got the hang of pulling it all together, you're going to speed up quite naturally. So thank you for watching, and I hope your preparation all goes very well. Remember, you can always give me a call at 613-614-6460 if you need a little help. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.